Welcome back to another deep dive. So, I want to start with a scenario that I think we've all been in it. You walk into a space, right? It could be a cool hotel, a new restaurant, maybe even a friend's apartment,
Hmm.
and you immediately get it. It looks expensive, everything matches, the colors are on trend. But then after a few minutes, you realize you feel nothing. It's like you're walking through a catalog.
That's the showroom effect. It's visually perfect, but emotionally hollow.
Exactly. But then you walk into a different place, maybe it's a little messier, the furniture doesn't quite match,
Hmm.
but you instantly feel like you know the person who lives there. It just feels real.
Grounded.
Yeah, that's the word. And today, we are figuring out why that is. We're unpacking a really fascinating set of notes called Identity and Light, the Psychology of Custom Neon Design.
And I'm excited for this one
Yeah.
because it uses something really specific, custom LED signs,
Mm-hmm.
to talk about some huge concepts in behavioral psychology.
Like,
Well, we're talking about how we assign value to things, how our brains process ownership, and why the word custom is so much more than just, a marketing buzzword.
right. So our mission today is to understand why a custom piece of light has so much more emotional weight than some generic thing you just buy off a shelf.
We're going to get into the neuroscience of recognition, the psychology of our spaces.
And why seeing your own words in glowing light just hits different than buying a Live, Laugh, Love poster from a big box store.
Please, let's just agree to never say those three words again.
Yeah.
But yes, that is precisely the distinction.
It's a deal. So let's jump in. The source material leads with this big idea called the IKEA Effect.
Ah, yes.
And I know what you're thinking. It's about that frustration of missing screws and, like, arguments over building flat pack furniture.
It's actually the opposite. Or you could say the frustration is kind of the point. The IKEA effect is a cognitive bias. It was formally documented back in 2011 by researchers Norton, Moshan, and Arley.
Okay, so break it down for us. What did they find?
Essentially, they found that people place a significantly higher value on objects they had a hand in creating,
Higher than an identical object.
much higher. In the study, they had people assemble things like origami and Legos. And the participants would consistently say that their own creations, which were often a bit, wonky,
Mine are always wonky.
that they were just as valuable as the ones made by experts.
So just because I suffered through building that bookshelf, my brain tells me it's a masterpiece.
That's it, precisely. It's a way for your brain to reduce cognitive dissonance. It says, look, I spent 2 hours on this thing, so it must be valuable. Otherwise, I just wasted 2 hours of my life.
The effort becomes value.
Okay, I get that for, like, building a table.
Hmm.
But the source applies this to custom neon design. And I have to play devil's advocate here.
Go for it.
If I go to a website, type in a phrase, pick a font, I'm not exactly sweating over hot glass in a workshop. Is that really enough labor to trigger this effect? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the source argues, yes, absolutely. Because in this day and age, labor isn't just physical. It's cognitive labor. It's the burden of choice.
The burden of choice.
Think about it. When you buy a pre-made sign, there's zero creative risk. You pick it, you pay for it, you're done.
Right.
But when you design a custom piece, even if it's just typing words into a tool, you are making a whole series of creative decisions. You're choosing the message, rejecting other fonts, visualizing colors. You are doing what they call conceptual creation.
So the labor here isn't about the screws, it's about the mental energy of deciding this is the specific thing I want to say.
Exactly. You are investing a piece of your identity into that object before it's even made. And the source makes a really strong point here. It says when a product is personalized, it stops being decoration and it starts being identity.
Wow. Okay, that's a heavy line. Stops being decoration and starts being identity.
It completely changes the relationship. If you buy a neon cactus because it looks cool, that's a commodity. It's separate from you. But if you design a sign with, say, your grandmother's catchphrase,
Mm-hmm.
that object is now an extension of you, of your memory.
It reminds me of, like, when you customize a character in a video game, you always care way more about that character than the default one.
That's a perfect analogy. That is the IKEA effect in a digital space. You have skin in the game. And the source argues that this is the secret ingredient for custom neon. It's not just that it's bright, it's that it's yours. You're the author.
And the manufacturer is just the printer.
Precisely.
So we've established that making it makes us love it. But what about the result? The source moves on to identity and space. It says, spaces communicate who we are without speaking.
Yeah, this is environmental psychology 101.
Mhm.
Our rooms, our homes, They're basically external hard drives for our personalities.
And the text draws this line between intentionality and decoration. I feel like that goes right back to my showroom comment from the start.
It does. Think about the checklist mentality. People feel like they have to decorate a room, so they treat it like a checklist. Okay, I need something over the sofa. I need a lamp for that corner.
Insert art here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's decoration. You're just filling space with generic placeholders. Intentionality is different. That's when an object is there because it means something, not just because it fits.
And a custom sign is the ultimate signal of that intentionality.
Well, you can't accidentally buy a custom sign, can you? You can't just stumble upon a neon sign that has your inside joke on it in a thrift store.
Right.
You have to manifest it. And that effort, that deliberation, it signals to anyone who walks in, this space is curated. This is intentional.
The source uses the word premium here, but they say it doesn't mean expensive.
Right. Premium here means high consideration. It implies the person living there has a strong sense of self. When you see a very specific phrase glowing on a wall, you immediately see that space as more exclusive. Not because of money, but because of scarcity. There's literally only one of those in the world.
That's a really cool point. We always think of scarcity with, diamonds or limited edition sneakers. But a custom piece is the ultimate limited edition. It's an edition of one.
That commands a different kind of respect.
Mm.
The source gives examples like a single word like focus or create in a home office.
I do love those single word ones.
It's a declaration. It tells you, I am serious about what happens in this room.
Mm.
If I walk into your office and see deep work in neon, I assume you aren't just scrolling social media in there.
You would be wrong, but I do appreciate the assumption.
Well, the sign frames the narrative of the room, at least.
Okay, so we've got the pride of creation and the social signal of intentionality. But now the source gets really nerdy, and I know this is your jam.
Oh, yeah.
They introduce a concept called emotional anchoring.
Yes. Now we're getting into the neuroscience. Why this stuff actually works on a biological level.
Okay, so break this down for me. What is an emotional anchor?
It's essentially a stimulus, a sound, a smell, a visual that gets linked in your brain to a very specific emotional state. And the source argues that personalization creates this huge emotional anchor because of something called the self-reference effect.
The self-reference effect. Is that like why I can hear my own name across a crowded, noisy room?
That's the cocktail party effect, which is definitely related. But the self-reference effect is more about memory. Psychology shows us that any information related to you, to yourself, is processed more deeply and remembered far better than any other kind of information.
So if I see a generic quote, my brain just logs it as text. But if I see my own name, my brain processes it as me.
Exactly. It bypasses the normal filters. We're just hardwired to look for patterns that match us. So when you walk into a room and see a sign with your family name or a personal mantra, your brain gets this little hit of recognition. It's a tiny dopamine spike.
And the source says that neon, specifically the light, amplifies this. It talks about a combination effect.
Right. This is the formula they lay out. Language plus light plus space plus identity, all at one focal point.
But why is the light part so important? Wouldn't a painted sign on the wall do the same thing?
Not quite. It's because of how our eyes work. We're phototropic. We are biologically drawn to light. In any given room, the brightest point automatically becomes the focal point. It commands our attention.
So if I paint my mantra on the wall, it's passive. But if I make it out of light, it's active.
You're literally highlighting it. You're telling every brain in the room, look here first. So when you combine that biological pull towards light with the psychological hit of self-reference, you get a really powerful emotional anchor. You can't just ignore it. It's shouting your identity at you.
That makes so much sense. It's a difference between whispering something and putting it up on a billboard.
And this is why the source says these signs have emotional weight. They aren't just background noise. They're active participants in the psychology of the room.
Speaking of background noise, I want to shift to the business side of this. The source spends a good amount of time on commercial uses. And this is where I think so many businesses get it wrong.
Oh, completely. If the self-reference effect works for individuals, the opposite is true for businesses using generic stuff.
Yeah.
You just create visual white noise.
The source uses a cafe example. We've all seen it. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, and a sign that says, "But first, coffee."
Ugh. But first, coffee. It's the live, laugh, love of the caffeine world.
It is. And what does that tell our brains?
It signals we are following a template. It signals safety, maybe, but it also signals a total lack of original thought. The brain has seen that pattern 1,000 times before, so it just filters it out. It becomes invisible.
So for a business to actually be seen, they have to break that pattern.
They have to. The source contrasts that with a cafe that uses a custom phrase, maybe something about the local neighborhood or part of their brand story. That signals originality. It wakes the brain up.
It's the difference between a franchise and a local spot.
And it's about confidence, too. Custom design says you're confident enough in your own brand to, carve it into light. You aren't just renting an aesthetic. You own it.
The source also brings up internal culture, like startups using neon for mission statements. I'll be honest, I sometimes roll my eyes at that. It can feel a bit forced.
That's a valid skepticism. I mean, if the company culture is toxic, a shiny sign won't fix it.
Right.
But if the culture is real, the sign acts as a kind of totem.
A totem.
Yeah, think about tribal symbols. A totem is a physical object that represents the shared values of a group. When a team sees their core value glowing on the wall every day, it moves that mission statement from a PDF. No one reads into a physical presence in the room.
It creates a sense of place.
Exactly. And the source sums all this up with a distinction that I think is the most important takeaway from this whole thing.
Okay.
The difference between a space that is styled and a space that is defined.
I underlined that one too. Styled versus defined. Let's dig into that.
A styled space follows the rules. It uses the right colors, the trendy textures. It looks great on Instagram. But it could belong to anyone.
And a defined space.
A defined space draws a line in the sand. It says, this is who we are. This is what we believe. It has a point of view. It has personality.
It's risky.
It is risky, and that's why it's valuable. To define something, you have to take a stance. When you put a custom sign on the wall, you're taking a stance. You're saying, this is me.
It all comes back to that first feeling we talked about, authenticity. We're just craving things that feel real because we're surrounded by things that feel so manufactured.
And the irony is, to make something feel real, you have to put that work into it. You have to go through the IKEA effect. You have to suffer that burden of choice to get the reward of real ownership.
So what's the takeaway for the listener? We've covered a lot of ground here, from how participating in design makes us value things more, to how custom pieces signal this deep intentionality.
To the neuroscience of how light and language combine to grab our attention. It's a pretty compelling case for stepping away from the Add to Cart button on generic items.
So if you're listening and you're maybe looking around your own walls with a little bit of side-eye right now,
Thinking, is my space just styled? Or is it defined?
yeah, that's a good question to ask. And if you're curious about testing this IKEA effect for yourself, the source material points to a tool at heartneon.com. They've got a custom design builder there.
I think it's worth playing with, even if you're not planning on buying anything. Just go on, type in a phrase that really means something to you, pick a color, and just see if you feel that little shift, that sense of ownership kicking in.
Like a little psychological sandbox.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, our source material concludes with this thought. Sometimes the most powerful design choice is the one that reflects you.
It sounds so simple, but in a world that's full of templates, being yourself is actually a pretty radical design choice.
I love that. Being yourself is a radical design choice. We're going to leave it right there. Take a look around your room today. Ask yourself if it's speaking your language or if it's just filling the silence. Thanks for deep diving with us.
See you next time.